But do not fear. Light always overcomes darkness. You must be strong. You must stand. And you must not fight him with his own weapons. Do not go to shrines. Do not bow to fear. Fight with truth, patience, and courage. In the end, the land will speak for itself. Chike leaned forward. But Mama, Obinna has power. He has the elders. He has the Dibia. How can Ada survive? Mama Ifyananya's eyes glowed. Because she has something greater, the blessing of her father's word and the strength of her spirit. If she does not give up, even the gods will bow to the truth. Ada's chest rose with new strength. She wiped her tears. Then I will fight. Not with darkness, but with light. I will not give Obinna my land. Mama Ifyananya smiled, her wrinkled face radiant. Good child. Remember this, when greed digs a grave, it often falls into it first. As Ada and Chike left the hut, the sun shone brighter, and for the first time in a long while, hope flickered in Ada's heart. But back in Umuaka, Obinna was already preparing his next move. His greed had no limits, and his war had only just begun. The moon was full that night, casting a pale light over the village. In the forest shrine, Obinna stood before Dibia Okoro, his chest bare, his eyes filled with burning desire. A white goat bleated beside him, its eyes wide with fear. The Dibia's voice rang out. Obinna, son of Naji, you have come for power. But power demands sacrifice. Are you ready? I am ready, Obinna said firmly. The Dibia handed him a sharp blade. Cut. Let your blood speak your desire. Obinna sliced his palm, squeezing the blood onto a white cloth where Ada's name had been written. The Dibia then slit the goat's throat, its cry echoing through the night. Blood poured into a clay pot, mixing with Obinna's. The priest chanted incantations, his eyes rolling back, his body shaking. The fire before them roared higher though no one touched it. The ancestors have heard, he declared. From this night, Ada will know no peace. Her crops will wither. Her sleep will bring nightmares. Her strength will fail. The land itself will reject her. Obinna smiled wickedly. So be it. But as he left the shrine, thunder cracked across the sky even though the night was clear. For every ritual carries a price, and greed always demands more than it gives. Meanwhile, Ada, asleep in her small hut, tossed and turned. Shadows pressed upon her chest, choking her breath. She gasped and woke with a scream, sweat pouring down her body. She knew Obinna had done something. The war had entered her very dreams. The next morning, Ada went to the farm with Chike, determined to replant despite her sleepless night. But when they arrived, her heart sank. Several villagers, men and women she once called friends, were uprooting her young cassava plants. She ran forward. Stop! What are you doing? One of the women glared at her. Obinna said this land is not yours. He told us the elders agreed. Why should we let you deceive us? Another man spat on the ground. Ada, we don't want your curse to spread to the rest of us. Leave this land before something worse happens. Ada's chest tightened. You all knew Papa. You all heard his words before he died. Why do you believe Obinna's lies? But no one listened. They pushed her aside and left the farm in chaos. Ada fell to the ground, weeping. Chike knelt beside her, fury in his eyes. These people are blind. But Ada, remember what Mama Ifyananya said, truth does not need a crowd. Do not give up. Ada nodded weakly, wiping her tears. I will not give up. Even if the whole village turns against me, I will not give up. But in her heart, the pain of betrayal cut deep. To lose strangers was one thing. To lose friends was another. That night, she lit a small lamp and prayed quietly, whispering to her father's spirit, Papa, are you watching? They all stand against me. Only you knew the truth. Please, fight for me. Unseen to her, a soft wind passed through the hut, making the flame of the lamp flicker. Somewhere in the silence, it was as though the land itself was listening. Days turned into weeks. Ada grew thinner from worry, but she refused to abandon the farm. Every morning she went back, even when others mocked her. Then, one morning, something strange happened. Ada was weeding when her hoe struck something hard beneath the soil. Curious, she dug deeper until she uncovered an old wooden box. Her heart pounded as she pulled it out, wiping the dirt off. It was heavy, sealed with rope. Chike rushed to her side. "What is it?" "I don't know," Ada whispered, her hands shaking. They untied the rope and opened it. Inside lay old documents wrapped in cloth, and beneath them, a carved wooden staff. The documents bore her father's handwriting. Ada's eyes widened as she read aloud. "This land belongs to my daughter, Ada. I declare it before man and before God. Whoever touches it with greed will bring a curse upon himself." Her hands trembled. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Papa, you knew they would fight me. You left this as proof." Chike's voice shook. "Ada, this is more than proof. This is prophecy." He spoke of a curse. Just then, a strange sound filled the air like a deep rumble beneath the ground. The trees around the farm swayed though there was no wind. Ada and Chike froze. It was as if the land itself was speaking, groaning in anger at the injustice done. Ada held the staff tightly, her father's words echoing in her soul, "The land will take care of you, if you take care of it." For the first time, she realized this was not just a fight for inheritance. It was a fight for destiny. And the land itself was on her side. The sun was merciless that afternoon. Its scorching heat pressed down on the red earth of Umuaka village, making the air heavy with silence. But in the compound of Chief Okonkwo's late house, silence did not mean peace. Silence meant war waiting to explode. Amara sat on the wooden bench beside the mango tree. Her wrapper clung tightly to her waist, her face pale, her eyes swollen from nights of endless crying. Around her were 3 women from the Women's Council, each whispering words of pity, each shaking their heads at the injustice that had befallen her. But Amara's eyes were not on them. Her gaze was fixed on the farmland, her father's land, stretching far beyond the palm trees. The same land that had fed her family for generations. The same land her brother Obinna had sworn to take from her. It was no longer just land. To Amara, it was blood. It was memory. It was her father's spirit calling out to her. A sudden noise broke her thoughts. Drums. Loud, thunderous drums. Obinna had returned. And this time, he was not alone. From the dusty road, Obinna marched into the compound with a group of men. They were strong, armed with cutlasses and sticks. Their faces were hard, their eyes burning with the fire of intimidation. Behind them came women ululating, some mocking Amara, some praising Obinna as the rightful heir. "Today, Amara," Obinna's voice boomed like thunder, "the land will know its true owner. You are a woman. You cannot fight the will of the ancestors." Gasps filled the air. Amara rose to her feet, trembling but unyielding. "Obinna," her voice shook with emotion. "This land does not belong to you. It belongs to our father, and he gave it to me before he died. Why must you turn blood into war? Why must you bring shame upon us?" But Obinna only laughed. It was a wicked laugh, the kind that sent shivers down spines. "You will see shame, Amara. You will eat shame." The elders tried to intervene, but Obinna's men outnumbered them. That day, the land became a battlefield of words, curses, and tears. By evening, Amara was left broken, humiliated, and forced out of the farmland she called her life. The women of the village carried her home, wailing for her like a widow. And so, the land became a land of tears. The injustice spread across Umuaka like wildfire. From one hut to another, tongues wagged. Some called Obinna brave. Others called him cursed. But one thing was certain, the village would never be the same again. Amara, in her pain, sought refuge in the shrine of the ancient goddess Neka. The priestess, Mama Ifeoma, welcomed her with eyes that seemed to see through the soul. My daughter, Mama Ifioma said softly, land is not just earth. It is the womb of your ancestors. Whoever steals land steals blood. And blood does not dry. Amara wept, falling to her knees. Mama, I am weak. I am only a woman. My brother has taken everything. How can I fight him? The old priestess placed her wrinkled hands on Amara's head. You are stronger than you know. But strength must be sealed. Tonight, you will take an oath before the goddess. You will call upon your father's spirit to fight for you. That night, under the pale light of the moon, Amara cut her finger. Her blood dropped into a clay pot filled with palm wine and herbs. She raised her hand, trembling but resolute. I swear, she cried, her voice echoing into the forest, that whoever stole my land with lies and greed will not know peace. Let the gods judge between us. Thunder rumbled across the sky. The wind rose. The villagers who watched gasped in fear. An oath had been taken. And in Amuaka, oaths were not play. Far away in his compound, Obinna felt a sudden chill. He sneezed, then laughed, dismissing it. But unknown to him, the oath of blood had been cast. And the gods do not sleep. The following week was market day. Amuaka was alive with traders, drummers, and buyers. But the whispers were louder than the market noise. Have you heard? They say Amara swore an oath. They say she called upon the gods. Obinna is finished. Obinna, however, strutted through the market with pride. He had begun selling portions of the farmland to wealthy men from the city. Silver coins jingled in his pouch. Greed glowed in his eyes. But fate had already begun its slow dance. The first sign came when one of Obinna's buyers, a wealthy man named Okafor, suddenly fell ill after surveying the land. His body twisted in pain, his voice crying out strange words nobody could understand. By morning, he was dead. The village trembled. The land has rejected him, they whispered. The second sign came days later. Obinna's eldest son, Chike, who had been helping him clear the farmland, was bitten by a snake. But this was no ordinary snake. Witnesses swore it appeared from nowhere, struck, and vanished into thin air. Chike survived, but his body burned with fever. At night, Obinna could no longer sleep. He dreamed of his father, Chifakonkwo, standing over him with fire in his eyes, saying only one word, greed. Obinna woke sweating, panting, trembling. For the first time, fear entered his heart. But instead of repentance, his greed grew darker. He went back to the shrine of another priest, a corrupt one, seeking protection against the curse. The battle had begun. Not just between brother and sister, but between truth and greed, light and darkness, blood and betrayal. And Umuaka, the quiet village, became the stage for a war that would shake generations to come. Night in Umuaka had never been so heavy. The moon hung above the palm trees, but its light felt weak, swallowed by shadows. Inside his compound, Obinna tossed on his bamboo bed, sweat soaking his wrapper though the night was cold. His wife Ngozi whispered prayers by his side, but her voice was drowned by the restless muttering of her husband. No, leave me. Father, stop following me, Obinna gasped, thrashing in his sleep. Suddenly, he sat up, his eyes bulging, his chest pounding. Did you hear it? He shouted at Ngozi. Hear what? She asked, trembling. The footsteps. The footsteps outside. They both turned to the window. A shadow moved. Slow. Heavy. Deliberate. Ngozi screamed and clung to her husband. But when Obinna ran outside with a lantern, the compound was empty. No one. Only the sound of the wind in the banana trees. From that night, Obinna was no longer the same. He stopped eating. His laughter faded. His voice grew sharp, angry, suspicious. He accused his own wife of plotting against him, his children of spying on him, the villagers of cursing his name. But the truth was clear to all, the oath Amara swore had found him. The shadow of their father would not leave him. Amara, though strengthened by the oath, was not spared from suffering. Rumors spread that she was a witch, that she had killed Okafor and sent a snake to bite Chike. Mothers began to warn their children not to visit her hut. Friends turned their backs. One evening, as she fetched water from the stream, a group of young men mocked her. "Land thief," one shouted. "Snake woman," another jeered. The words cut like knives. Amara's eyes welled with tears. For a moment, she wanted to give up. To abandon the fight, to leave the land to Obinna and escape the burden. But just then, an old woman, blind in one eye, approached her. She placed a bony hand on Amara's shoulder and whispered, "My daughter, do not bow. Your father's spirit stands behind you. If you run, you will bury his name. If you stand, you will raise it." Amara froze. The woman's voice was like thunder in a whisper. Before she could reply, the woman disappeared into the crowd, as if she was never there. That night, Amara prayed under the mango tree where her father once sat. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but her heart grew harder than stone. She vowed, "Even if the world turns against me, I will not bow to Obinna's greed." The test had come. And Amara chose to stand. Obinna's downfall began not in secret, but in the full eyes of the village. It was during the annual Yam festival, a day when the whole community gathered to dance, feast, and thank the gods for harvest. Obinna, dressed in his finest red cap and shining beads, came with his family, determined to display his new wealth from the stolen land. The drums beat. The dancers twirled. The masquerades leapt in the air. All seemed well. Until Obinna rose to make his offering at the village square. He carried a basket of the finest yams from the farmland. With pride, he laid them before the elders. But just as he turned to boast, the ground beneath him shook. The yams split open not with white flesh, but with blood. Thick, red blood poured from the tubers, staining his hands, splashing onto his wrapper. The crowd screamed. Women wailed. The drummers stopped. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. "Abomination," one elder cried. "The land rejects him," another shouted. Obinna staggered back, his face pale, his hands trembling. He tried to speak, but his voice cracked. His eyes darted wildly as whispers tore through the crowd. That night, nobody came near his compound. Dogs howled at his gate. Children cried when they saw him. The village had judged him already, cursed. And deep in his heart, Obinna knew the gods had started to strip him, piece by piece. The night was heavy with fear. A storm gathered above Omuaka, the clouds black, the wind howling like angry spirits. In Obinna's compound, his wife Ngozi packed her belongings in tears. She could no longer stay. "Obinna," she pleaded, her voice trembling, "return the land to your sister. Before the gods finish us all. Can you not see? Our son burns with fever, our wealth is turned to dust, the village spits at your name. Must you wait for death before you repent?" But Obinna's eyes were red, wild, desperate. "Never," he roared. "That land is mine. It will remain mine until my last breath." Just then, a crash of thunder split the sky. Lightning struck the old palm tree at the edge of his compound, sending flames into the night. The villagers gathered, wailing. Some whispered that the ancestors had finally come for him. In panic, Obinna grabbed his cutlass and ran towards the farmland. "If the gods want war, then let them meet me there," he shouted. Amara, warned by neighbors, rushed after him, her heart pounding. The rain fell in torrents, but she pressed on until she found him in the middle of the farmland, soaked, trembling, his cutlass raised against the storm. "Obinna," she cried, her voice breaking. "Stop fighting shadows. This land is not worth your soul. Give it up before it buries you." But Obinna's laughter echoed madly through the rain. "If I cannot have it, then nobody will." He plunged his cutlass into the earth. At that moment, the ground shook violently. The cutlass snapped in two. A deafening thunderclap split the air, and Obinna fell to the ground, clutching his chest. His eyes widened in shock, his breath shallow. "Father, forgive me," he whispered, before his body went still. The storm ceased as suddenly as it began. The rain stopped. The land grew quiet again. But Obinna's lifeless body lay across the soil he had stolen. The curse had struck its final blow. The next morning, Umuaka village gathered at the square. The elders, the women, the youth, all eyes turned to Amara. Some had doubted her, mocked her, even cursed her name. But now, they saw her truth. Elder Nwafa rose to speak. His voice was firm, yet heavy with sorrow. Greed destroyed Obinna. But justice has been done. This land was never his to take. It belongs to Amara, as her father decreed. Let today be a lesson to us all. When a man covets what is not his, he calls death to his door. The villagers nodded, murmuring in agreement. Many wept for Obinna, but all accepted the judgment of the gods. Amara stood tall, her wrapper wet with tears. Her voice was soft, but it carried through the crowd. I did not fight my brother with weapons. I fought with truth. Let this land not only be mine, but also a reminder to every child of Umuaka that greed destroys, and justice will always rise. That evening, Amara returned to the farmland. Alone, she knelt on the soil and whispered to her father's spirit. It is done, Papa. I kept the promise. Your land is safe. A gentle wind blew across the field, rustling the palm leaves. And for the first time since the battle began, Amara smiled. The land of tears had become the land of justice. And so, children, remember this: greed is a fire that burns not only the thief but also his household. No matter how long it takes, truth will always outshine lies, and justice will always find its way. This was the story of her greedy brother stole her land. May it remind us all that what belongs to another will never bring us peace, and that a pure heart is greater than all the riches in the world.